What the roses say, what the roses say. I could been at home, I could been at home. And the roses say, and the roses say. Well, if I wouldn't listen, well, I wouldn't listen.
Why is the blues called the blues? The belief is that this music got its name from a 17th century English expression, the Blue Devils. The Blue Devils are spirits that can make bad things happen or make people sad. It wasn't until after Reconstruction, however, that the music we call the blues got its name. Why would something that causes bad things to happen have its name associated with a particular type of music? It's because the music we call the blues comes from a people who lived a hard life that was filled with sadness. The actual birth of the blues is shrouded in mystery and uncertainty. It is, however, believed by historians that the blues has its roots in various musical styles brought to America by the African slaves. The language of the slaves was full of musical overtones expressing many different feelings and emotions. While working in the fields, attending church, and celebrating various occasions, lyrics were sung, mostly a cappella, expressing the suffering, anguish, and hopes that these people were experiencing.
Well, it's Long John, Long John, he's long gone, long gone, he's long gone, he's long gone, he's long gone, long gone. Well, if I had listened.
After Reconstruction, these songs that had been sung on the plantations began to move out into the community. African musicians began taking the music on the road, earning money by playing at picnics, dances, and juke joints. It is during this time that the music got its name, the blues. The musicians were singing songs about hard times.
I said that one with matchbox hold my soul. I said that one there with matchbox hold my soul.
The people listening associated their hard times and their hopes with the idea of the blues, and they began referring to the musicians as bluesmen and their music as the blues. These bluesmen began adding different lyrics to the rhythms, incorporating instruments like the guitar and harmonica, making the music more upbeat so people could now dance to what the bluesmen were playing. The songs were beginning to deal with many topics and emotions, but were still dominated by sorrow and hard times. The blues stretched from the southern East Coast westward to Texas. Across this vast area, different styles of the blues came to be. Here are three of the earliest styles that are still being performed today. The country blues, also called the folk blues, comes out of Texas. It is an acoustic blues style incorporating elements of gospel, ragtime, hillbilly, and Dixieland jazz.
There's a great big mystery, and it sure is worrying me. This ditty war did it. This ditty war did it. I wish somebody would tell me what ditty war did it mean.
The Mississippi Delta Blues comes from an area of northeastern Mississippi. The music features highly rhythmic structures played on guitar and harmonica and is often accompanied by strong vocals.
I went to the crossroads, fell down on my knees.
Piedmont blues originated on the southern East Coast, ranging from Virginia to the northern tip of Florida and west to Georgia and eastern Tennessee. It is played on an acoustic guitar using a finger-picking style. It has a syncopated rhythm and the tunes have an up-tempo sound heavily influenced by ragtime music. It is a good form of blues to dance to. Prior to the 1900s, the blues was being performed, but it wasn't being written down. In 1912, W.C. Handy transcribed the first blues song, Memphis Blues, and in 1914, Handy published the St. Louis Blues. Initially, neither song was a great success, but what this did do was begin to legitimize the blues. Having been written down, it could now be picked up and played by anyone who purchased a copy of it. Because of this, Both of the Handy songs eventually did become very popular. In 1920, Mamie Smith recorded Crazy Blues, and the world of blues music changed forever. This recording sold over 75,000 copies in the first month and went on to sell over 1 million copies. This one song led the way for black entertainment. African Americans were being recognized as professional entertainers, and the recording industry recognized a growing market within the African American community for the music like the Crazy Blues.
I can't sleep at night. I can't eat a bite. 'Cause the man I love, he don't treat me right.
In the 40s, a new style of the blues was coming onto the scene, the Chicago blues. The blues had moved north and had found its way into urban communities. The blues was changing. The culture of the urban experience was being incorporated into its lyrics. Throughout the 50s and 60s, the acoustic instruments were replaced by amplified instruments, and the bands now included bass guitar, drums, and at times reed instruments such as saxophones. Amplified instruments allowed for more experimentation, often creating a completely different sound from what the traditional blues music sounded like.
I should have quit you a long time ago. I should have quit you, babe, long time ago.
Many American bands outside of the blues style were incorporating elements of the blues sound and its rhythms into their music. With its roots being found in the slave work songs and the early work of W.C. Handy and his St. Louis Blues, and Mamie Smith's recording of Crazy Blues, up through the sound of the Chicago Blues, the sound of the music had changed significantly. In the United States and across the Atlantic in Great Britain, rock and roll bands had discovered the blues. It has had, and still does have, a major influence on this music.
My baby, I'm going home. My baby, come home. Don't you like girl?
It was only possible to provide a brief overview of the origins and history of the blues in this short story. If listening to this has piqued your interest, Martin Scorsese has a series on the blues called The Blues. There is a DVD, a CD, and a book that delves more deeply into what the blues is and where it comes from. Thank you for listening.